This is first-class painter.
Who is Martha? She's the city. I think that's who I've come to know her to be, and the city is all-encompassing, and it's as interior as it is exterior. She was born and raised in New York. She's a city kid. The vantage points and the curiosities that she developed over those super formative years when she was a kid, traveling over bridges. When you're a young child, a city is very big. And I love thinking about motion in her work and the work in the show as well. You're seeing buildings do things that buildings don't do. The Skin of the City is Martha Diamond's exhibition featuring paintings from 1980 until 2000. The title was something that was pulled from Bill Berkson's essay in 1990 from Artforum, featuring a small quote from James Schuyler saying something to the extent of the continuous right-angled skin of the city. When you're thinking about the rigidity of angles and then skin, what are you kind of painting over surface architecture? This exhibition is remarkable because it's hosting the largest canvas size that she ever made. It's a really beautiful drop-in to a moment in time where Martha is really honing in on this image of the city, but then kind of distilling it in a way through the sizes that we're seeing displayed, through the play with canvas, through the color, through the brushstroke.
Very few of the brush strokes are pure color. The brush is either dirty or paint is coming through from underneath. In other words, there was something like a pristine degeneration going on in the painting, where everything was meticulous, yet it was seeming to dissolve at the same time. You couldn't put anything more poetically in paint than what she was doing.
The paint feels thicker. The air in the compositions feel heavier. There's almost a beautiful frenetic energy that these compositions have in the even small moments of impasto on these pieces. And when I think about her painting these massive pieces in the 80s, I'm just thinking about this woman dancing like crazy in her studio. It was such a choreography between her ladders. That sweat, that physicality of the 80s for her, I think really shows up in the paintings that we're seeing.
During that time, she changed to oils, and the paint became more muscular and weirder. The color is like light. It's not to make color to go with other colors. It's color that makes an overall light. It's visionary.
The quality of the atmosphere in the paintings in the 90s starts to feel lighter in these particular works that are in the show. We see Martha really push into a heavier, abstract rendering of buildings in the 90s. Process is key to understanding her entry point into what became a composition and what became an image that we're looking at. She wanted to and needed to have an idea of what she was going to do before paint came out of a tube. And so these images, which became, as she later called them, books that were atlases. This was a point of putting, all of these things that were coming together to create a pool of inspiration of where she would then jump into her work. When she had those sources, the way that was impacting her vision, what would become her vision, that would be taken then to the oil on masonite, the oil on board. And so the paint on board became the tangible idea that would manifest into a canvas. And that's where we start seeing her play with scale and creating the process that is quite specific to her work. But then it was figuring out, sussing out almost which part is the most complicated of this painting, and that needs to be taken yet one step further even before it becomes the large canvas, and that's where you have that mid-size detail piece. And those were the testing points of what is going to be most challenging. She painted everything in one go. And when I say everything, it's she would finish, she would do an image, a canvas, in one sitting. In order to do that, there's a lot of preparation that's needed in not just your studio practice, but mentally, to come into a world in that way and complete it and feel able to walk away and say this is a done canvas. Martha got back from Paris around 1965, and that was kind of this perfect, corny as it is, magical moment in the downtown painting community and the downtown poetry scene. And by the time she got herself situated in her live-work space, that would be the continuous space for almost 60 years, which is where we are right now at 268 Bowery, she had already begun to develop a community that would be really informative in her development.
I met Martha in 1969. I had, in college, decided at the golden age of 20 that I was going to devote my life to writing poems, and I was made aware of East Village activities in that line. What got me about Martha was that it was really her life. All she was about was the painting. And she painted almost all the time. She was always busy. Martha was a one-of-a-kind, brilliant, special painter.
She really was a child of the 60s. You had complete freedom. You didn't have to worry about anything. And her work was completely free.
I think things that people often find as beautiful in another person, the way that light falls on a shoulder or on skin or something like that. I think she had that romantic relationship in a way with the city, with architecture, with buildings. She was the city, she was the neighborhood, and in the same way she was this space. They were so intertwined with the lightness, the complexity, the history, the grittiness, and this kind of self-made, manifest personality that I think is something that people really gravitate towards.
I reflect on Martha's place in history. She was doing the die-hard for painting, for grand painting, when her most flamboyant paintings, what I really love, had buildings that were being melted by light, and being swept as if by a wind. All these things that never occurred to her and which are aesthetically pure, but also resonate. Like, none of the windows are the same shape or size. The angles are almost always oblique to the buildings, and you never see a source of light. Extraordinary art is rare, and that's why, thinking about Martha's work, I have a lot of questions. Is it really that extraordinary? And I generally decide, yeah, it's extraordinary.